So the next question is, what advice would you give a young entrepreneur who is interested in starting a business with his or herself? So my husband and I actually co-founded Kush together. My husband was the CTO, and he's now chief scientist at Mule. And we get this question a lot. What's it like to start a company with your spouse? Um, is it hard? In the beginning, I think there was also a lot of skepticism, honestly, from investors. I think that has changed. I think that there are now many examples of successful couples that have started companies, and so that bias is starting to kind of go away. But there was definitely a bias 5 years ago, against couple founders. But basically, what I've found is that I think that it can either work really, really well or be a complete disaster. And I think that if it works because you're the type of couple that does everything together anyway. So my husband and I, whether it's official or not, even if we have two separate jobs, we end up kind of working together anyway. So for example, he used to be a professor at Georgia Tech, and when he was a professor, he would write grant proposals and papers as part of his job. And I would help him on his. I ended up consulting him on his grants and giving him ideas for what kind of proposal to write and all of that. And so it's just we have a tendency to work together. We really like to spend a lot of time together, and we also don't fight in general. We kind of have a rational process for coming to agreement when there's a disagreement, and it just sort of tends to work itself out. So I think these qualities are very important in the relationship for it to work out. If these things happen naturally, I think it's a great idea to start a company with your spouse. And the reason is that, a strong relationship between the co-founders is the single most important thing, I think, for a company to succeed. I think companies tend to fall apart when, under stress, the relationship between co-founders starts to break. And, you can look at it in there are different ways of looking at it. I think the investors that were skeptical about, investing in a couple co-founders felt that under stress, that relationship is more likely to break. But I believe that if you're the type of couple that will go in, that is interested in starting a company together, that you actually are more likely to have a strong relationship than two random co-founders that don't have a reason to make it work.